following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all nerds! International. With the hyphen.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system from Fantasy Flight Games, a show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me, as always, my good friend and co-host, Chris Holmes. How you doing, homie?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really good today.
Did your Vikings play today?
Yeah, they lost.
Oh.
They lost to the Patriots a little while ago. Dang it.
Oh.
It wasn't even... Well, it was close, but not really. Nah. But at least the Packers lost and the Bears lost. Packers head coach got fired, too. That's kind of cool.
Cool for a Minnesota fan.
For a Vikings fan.
Yeah.
But sorry to all you fans out there. Not really. But...
We love all of our fans, even the Packer fans, except Chris. He doesn't.
No, it's okay. I'm Minnesota nice. Yeah, we like them all. We like all of you.
There's only 10 of them anyway.
True. Not very popular, but... Oh, man. I want a game, but I'm going to on Tuesday.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. That's your news for this week. Tell me about it.
Yeah, my news for this week, since... Fantasy Flight isn't giving us any info.
Well, they did give us the Terranoth cards, the Star Wars Adversary cards coming this week. They announced those, more of them.
Well, that's true. The other, what do you call it? The older brother narrative system, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Star
Those
Wars
are
system.
very easily reskinned for a Genesys game.
You know, good thing you brought that up because those are. I mean, you really could use any of those packs and reskin them to really whatever setting you want. I mean, you really could, right? I mean,
I've used Stormtroopers for regular Bolo guards before, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah, but so my news. So my buddy Matt Stark went ahead and put a post up on the Mayways earlier this week. Tagging me on it, saying, "Hey, Chris, check this out." And there's this website called Legends of the Galaxy in multiple cities, not just here in the Twin Cities, but they have an event at the Fantasy Flight Gaming Center Tuesday night at like 6:30 p.m. till 10 called Discovery on Jakku, Rise of the Resistance. And you can sign up for it and create a character and go play. So I'm going to do that. So I think that they're in the season 3 where you could create a night level character. So probably gonna make my Proximo Meridius again. And I know you said you like that name, so
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, if my buddies down in Orlando are listening to this, yes, Proximo will be back. I'm gonna remake him again and see. So be a Twi'lek Guardian Peacekeeper. So should be fun. Should be kind of fun. Looking forward to that. And I'll let you guys know how it goes.
Cool. In 2 weeks, we'll hear how it went.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, it looks like it's a full table, too. Like 5 people. They had like 5 slots open. And, yeah. So, awesome.
We got a full week of gaming coming up. I mean, honestly, you got Tuesday night, you got there. Then Wednesday night, you got my Star Wars game.
Yep.
And then Saturday night, you're playing my Terranoth game. Hopefully.
Absolutely. And then Thursday night, I'm running on the RPG Brewery, the second session of Jewel of Yavin. And then Friday night, I'm playing Hrothgar. I'm a little halfling barbarian in 5th edition D&D.
Jeez, buddy, you got a full week.
Yeah. Dropping my wife off at the airport on Tuesday. What else am I going to do?
That's true. Very nice.
I know.
Well, in listener feedback, I just picked one piece because it was rather lengthy. It's from our good friend Matt, Madak83 Grunswig. He says, "Greetings, Chris and Tony. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the time, effort, and sacrifice of many a drink to bring your love of Genesis to the rest of us. And to that, I say cheers. I'll drink to that.
Cheers. I'll drink to that too, but I have a Diet Barks. Sorry. But I am drinking the root of the beer. So
Okay. He says, second, I would love some constructive criticism on my stopgap race stats until FFG puts out stats for this race. I am including a paste of FFG's flavored text for the race.
okay.
The race is called the Orokusai, or Orukasai. Sorry.
Depending.
Right. Their little blurb that they had on the card for the character in the Descent game.
Oh, okay. That's where that is. Okay, cool.
Yep. Is in the oldest chronicles and the most recent tales, one can find allusions to a mysterious race of woolly and secretive creatures known as the Arukasai. Though their might is unparalleled, it is their genuine love for battle that makes them coveted allies. Some see them as harbingers of doom, others as noble guardians. Regardless of what people think, one thing is known. Whenever a Arukasai appears, trouble is never far behind.
Oh, I want to play this race. Holy crap, dude.
So
that sounds great.
He sent us some stats that he has come up with thus far. So he's got brawn of 3, agility of 2, intellect of 1, cunning of 1, willpower and presence of 2. All good stats.
Yeah.
Starting XP of 90, wound threshold of 14 plus brawn.
Okay.
Strain threshold of 8 plus willpower. Starting skills is 1 rank in brawl.
Okay.
And then gives them large size with a special, and this is where he was like really asking for our help.
Right.
Either a version of this ability from the Descent game, when you can kill an enemy and recover fatigue or strain, or something along the lines of the Iron Bounds ability that lets them use a 2-handed weapon one-handed, but still need the melee heavy skill with it. Allowing for a character to literally dual wield 2 heavy weapons.
Cool.
My 2 big points that I would love to hear your advice on are the size and the special ability. My thought process in general for my stats on the race were to do the opposite of gnomes, but I'm having a hard time figuring out what silhouette size to put them at. On one hand, I could make them a silhouette 2 and leave it at that, or I could make them a silhouette 1 and apply advantages and disadvantages of a silhouette 2. I would greatly appreciate whatever advice you two have to offer. Now, Chris and I both responded separately. You want to respond first, Chris?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and so basically what I said, and pretty solid so far. Like Tony had said there, Matt, these are pretty cool stats. I like it. And I know this kind of let's see. So basically, I kind of responded with, you know what? Make them a silhouette 2. Build into the advantages and disadvantages of being a silhouette 2. Basically the silhouette 2 advantages would be, if you want to make a silhouette 2 sized weapon, maybe adding a damage to a profile of a weapon that's a normal weapon would be just fine. And then the built-in advantage is basically on page 88 of the Genesis core book. The last sentence of the knockdown quality says you need an extra advantage to actually knock these guys down. So there's a couple of really cool advantages. And I would let them wield 2-handed weapon sizes, two-handed weapon that are sized for silhouette 1s with 1 hand. Doesn't matter. I would just let that happen. And then
that doesn't have to be a special. That doesn't have to be their special ability. Is what you're saying. It could just be a common thing in your game.
Yes, absolutely. It could be built into that silhouette to the size for them. And then the disadvantage of being a larger creature is that if you're 2 size categories lower than them, so those gnomes that are silhouette 0 will decrease the difficulty in hitting them. And it's vice versa. They'll have a hard time hitting hitting silhouette 0 creatures, so you would increase the difficulty adding another die to that. And then you can also give them a disadvantage of, like, you know, the sizes of armor, or it's more expensive, or if you're going into a dungeon, you know, bigger spaces, and they'll probably have setback dice when attacking and those kinds of things. Yeah, and I think so. The 14 plus brawn kind of balances out the fact that you have 1s in 2 stats, because that's very rare that it's actually happened. Normally, when you give a stat a 3, you give 1 stat a 1, but the 14 brawn, I feel that kind of balances that pretty good. What do you think, Tony?
I agree
with that. And then the special ability that first came to my mind. First off, you did mention large, bigger than a Wookiee. These did feel like Wookiees to me, you know? So, you could just reskin the Wookiee Rage ability. Call it Uruk-Kasai Frenzy. Whenever if they've suffered any wounds, they deal +1 damage to brawl or melee attacks. And if they're suffering from a critical injury, they deal +2 damage. So those were my suggestions on there.
Yep.
How about you there, Tony?
Well, I think you were right on track. I responded with him that you were right on track with the Silhouette 2 thing. Just go ahead and make them Silhouette 2. Because that's cool. You don't have any Silhouette 2 races. Yeah. And it'd be kind of cool. You got a Silhouette 0 with your gnomes. Now you have a Silhouette 2 with your Uruk-Kasai. And yeah, just leave the two-handed wielding one-handed thing as kind of a on-the-fly rule.
Yep.
Excuse me. And your suggestion of mimicking the Wookiee Rage works if you want it to express the battle lust. And I like the strain recovery thing. That was neat too, though I would, word it slightly differently to avoid spellcasters taking advantage of the situation. So what I thought would be, instead of doing the Wookiee Rage, if you wanted to have that ability like the character has in the Descent game, we call it the Uruk-Kasai Battle Trance. The Uruk-Kasai may cover strain as an incidental equal to their willpower rating after defeating an adversary with a brawl or melee attack. So they have to be using brawl or melee attacks instead of casting spells. Okay. Because that's one thing, is if you did let one of them be a caster, basically they would kill the spell and immediately regain all the strain, except for what they spent on the spell. So, but after they cast their first spell, they just would never run out of strain. So it doesn't, and I would keep the level of adversary to either, you could either do just a rival and nemesis, or just do minion.
And now, would that be a single minion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could do minion group, rival, or nemesis, and that, I think that keeps it well balanced. But Matt responded in kind and thanked us very much and told us we could use this on our show. Cool. For the record, Matt, we don't wait for permission. we always use them. I think you did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got pretty much the stats down to the spirit of the creature, and just need a little help on that special ability. And I think with either Chris's or mine, you've got yourself an Uruk-Kasai, which is basically like a Sasquatch. It's they look like a Yeti. They're white furred, hairy dudes that stand as taller than a Wookiee.
You could even call them maybe similar to a Wampa.
Yeah, very similar. Not as cool. But
cool. Nice pun. Love the pun.
Yeah. Welcome.
Awesome.
But and we featured that this time because today's episode is called Primordial People. We're going to be talking during the main subject about the races for our the species archetypes for our Primordial Machina setting.
Oh, yeah.
But first, we've got to go over and hit something else.
Yep.
Well, welcome to 50 Pieces of Awesome. This is where Chris goes out on the interwebs, all over the whole thing, scours it from tip to toe, and finds us something cool.
That's right. I go all the way to the end of the damn thing and back.
Oh. So what you got for us, bud?
Well, what I have is something that could be used specifically maybe for a fantasy setting. But there are some ideas in here where you can kind of reskin these to something else. Out on the Fantasy Flight forums, there is something A. Clark BR90 created called an expanded equipment for fantasy setting. What?
Sorry. I thought that said Admiral Akbar 90. I never noticed that it was a Clark bar. Sorry, go on.
A Clark bar 90. Nice.
Continue, my friend.
All right, no problem, buddy. And then in this first, so there's an expanded equipment list, which is an online Excel spreadsheet with some different workbooks at the bottom, tabs and whatever. He also has a random equipment list that you can roll on to. It's a D100 chart of random equipment that he kind of puts together, pulling from his equipment list. So that's
a great resource. I love it.
Isn't it though? It's pretty awesome. So there are a few things in here that really stood out to me that I thought were fairly unique and cool and interesting. I haven't seen this done before. There is this Goblin Bog Juice. He has I think this is on the Potions and Drugs page.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the bottom. He has Resilience in parentheses 2 to avoid vomiting. Now, I believe that's an average resilience check. Is that what you got too? Okay, average difficulty to avoid vomiting. And then, of course, he's got Dwarven Fire Whiskey, where it's a resilience of 1 to avoid drunkenness. So, that's cool. But really, what totally stood out to me, to follow up on our last show's theme, was Potion of Gaseous Form. Allows you to become gaseous for the rest of the scene.
That's right.
Gaseous. But gaseous.
You can become a fart for an entire scene.
I don't know. It just made me think. It's like when I saw Potion of Gaseous Form, I'm like, oh yeah, Tony and I had a couple of those on our way to the Con of the Cop, apparently.
It'd be great if the sound effect, every time you took that potion, the sound effect is just and you turn into smoke.
Potion of Cloud Kill. Anyways, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, and I don't know. It really stood out to me as a things that make you go, because when I being the DM that I am, yes, that's Dungeon Master, everybody. Rolling on those tables in the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual, whatever. This random equipment table just kind of spoke to me in that regard. So,
I like it.
Or not Matt. Admiral Akbar or a Clark bar or whatever you called it. This is pretty cool. Yeah, definitely 50 pieces of awesome here. I must say.
All right. Well, cool. Yeah, I liked it too. I took a good look at it, and I was laughing at the same things you were.
You're my brother from another mother.
I know.
That right?
As soon as I saw the potion, why you picked the potion of gaseous form, I knew immediately. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. But so, Mr. A. Clark BR90, when we give you 50 pieces of awesome. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, well done. Merry Christmas and well done. That's right. All right, man.
Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and all those other things.
And a partridge in a pear tree, too. All right. Next segment? You ready?
Yeah, let's
to get into the meat of this thing?
Sure.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Books of Genesis.
Dun-dun-dun.
Nice. Yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about our archetypes, species that we're gonna be putting in the Primordial Machina. I know. You laugh.
You have made
every
that
time.
mistake in like three episodes, buddy.
I know I haven't. Now we're going to start talking about, and I'll be getting it right again. So, all right, yeah. So, well, I guess if you all would turn to your good book of Genesis core to page 36.
Yes.
We have we start off with the human archetypes.
Yep.
Which we're basically just gonna lift and plop in. You know, I mean the average. I mean, do we want to do the average human? We want to do all of these, right? We want to have
all
a laborer. Yeah, because this gives a nice, good range of plain humans. Because humans will be the main, probably the main species in that world. I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. To me, the humans seem to be the primary species in the world, probably making up a good 60 to 70% of the population, with all these others being rarer.
Yeah.
The 4 archetypes in the book seem to fit well. Now we can go. Your average human could be just about any character. But then you go into your laborer. That's maybe someone who worked in the coal mines in one of the cities, or one of the people who works in the clockwork industry, one of the people who works in the airship industry, building airships, anyone who works in one of those major industries, maybe a laborer who's worked in one of the magic crafting facilities in one of the cities where they are using this newer arcane source of power for, and that would be your laborer type. Someone who grew up in that environment, maybe not so much that they were a laborer, but they come from generations of laborers. So,
yeah, and they have in the book there, they have a heftier brawn. They get the tough as nails and start with athletics and such. So,
yeah, and that's just perfect. So then we go into like the intellectuals, and again, those fit any of your book learning type folks. University people who are in business. Again, this is a setting where it's kind of steampunk, so there's all kinds of businesses out there. Banking is a thing, all that. Your intellectuals would be that.
Yep.
And then the last one?
Last one will be your aristocrat. So these will be all of your your silver-tongued politicians and people who lead others, maybe lead some of the guilds, or who are basically the face for the organizations that they may lead.
And the families of the noble houses.
Families of the noble houses, that's right. Yeah.
So,
most definitely.
Yeah.
Them too.
But then we wanted to take a couple other races, species from other things, and kind of subvert them or flip them on their head for this. And what was the first one, bud?
Well, the first one we have here in our list is the clockwork droid. The clockwork, which is basically a droid. Think of a droid from the Star Wars game. That's pretty much what we're thinking here. Okay. This is when I thought of this, I was thinking of. Do you remember? You've watched the Hellboy movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that clockwork assassin kind of person. That's kind of what I'm thinking, right?
Sure.
That is one. What other clockwork?
Well, you have the Clockwork Soldiers from Hellboy 2.
Oh yeah.
The Golden Army.
Yeah. That's true.
They were industrial.
Yeah.
But you've got other things out there. I'm drawing a total blank. Well, you've got the Clockwork Owl from the Clash of the Titans.
From Clash of the Titans, yeah. So those were kind of the thoughts that we were thinking of there for that. And in go ahead.
Did you ever play Skyrim?
I played. I probably played a few hours of it.
Okay, because they
played
had
all the way through it or anything.
They had in the Dwarven dungeons.
Okay.
Clockworks that were all different sizes and shapes and sentient kind of.
There you go.
Sentries that they had built for their dungeons, and this kind of brought that to mind also.
Oh, cool!
For me.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, with the dwarves being the crafters that go around and kind of build the different cities, and having some of these clockworks working for them, doing maybe some of their laborer tasks, or those human laborers too.
Well, we do have a history for them. They were actually created by the gnomes. That is a dead race, and there's a reason for that, which we'll get into later during our setting the tone. But let's get into what one of these clockwork can do, because I think they're really kind of one of the most versatile species,
absolutely
available. So
yeah. So the species, the abilities that we would give them, one's in everything. Okay. Now everybody's probably cringing, going, "What?" Well, we're giving them 175 starting experience points too. Okay. So that's that'll make up for, the having the twos and everything, for humans and whatever, and give them some extra. So you can really tailor this clockwork to whatever you want it to do. And then we have a wound threshold of 10 plus brawn, a strain threshold of 10 plus willpower. And then what are some of the special abilities here, Tony?
Well, they have this first special abilities. They do not eat, do not sleep, do not breathe, and are unaffected by toxins and poisons. Clockworks also have the cybernetic implant cap of 6, which we're going to be, instead of using cybernetics, we're going to be using steamware, is what we're calling it.
Yeah.
So for steamware, we were going to use the rules for cybernetics, which is the usual rating is 4 plus your brawn rating. Theirs is 6 plus your brawn rating. Is their maximum that they can have. In addition, after selecting their career, the Clockwork player character may train 1 rank in 6 of their 8 career skills instead of the usual 4. And after, no, that doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's that. And then the next one is inorganic, which they do not gain benefits from magic, healing, or from painkillers.
Painkillers. That's what they're called. Yep.
Or the medicine skill. Instead, they require a system resting and also mechanics check to heal.
Yep.
And we can also throw in. We hadn't decided yet, but we can also throw in like an emergency repair patch, kind of as a magic potion for them. Also, emergency repair potion.
That'll act like a painkiller, basically, right? Which will give them like the 5 wounds, and then for everyone after that, it'll be a 4, 3, 2, 1, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last thing it has, last 2 things it has is that they begin, due to their resilient metallic construction, Clockwork start the game with 1 rank in the enduring talent.
Yep. So they start with a +1 soak. Is that what that is? Enduring? I think that's what it is.
All right, hang on a second, Chris. Go ahead with what the mechanical being is.
The mechanical being, well, this says it cannot become force sensitive or whatever. But I think for us, they won't be able to cast magic in our setting here. So won't be able to get the magic skills, put ranks in them or anything, because they won't be able to channel magic that way.
That was kind of what I was thinking too. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So these guys would be great in any other role, but not great magic users.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. You just reskin them. You get to design what they look like for your. That's one of the best things about this species is that you get to design kind of what your chassis looks like.
Yeah.
You could choose, and you can use if you have the Edge of the Empire, it's or the Age of Rebellion books. They have in there a series of kind of ideas on what to base your chassis on. You can feel free to use those for your clockwork.
Yep. Excellent. So what's our next race there, bud?
Well, it's your favorite and mine.
Yeah.
The dwarves.
Yeah.
Our master craftsmen, so to speak. The creators of, the world we know pretty much after the Great Destruction. So we're going to go to the dwarves that are on page 64 of Realms of Terranoth. And they list two different kinds, but we're kind of basing ours more on the latter kind.
The forged dwarves, right?
The forged dwarf, yes. They don't live underground. Our dwarves live in a great moving city. And they are used to being craftsmen. So first thing they're going to do is you're going to have the standard dwarven stats. It's going to be 2 brawn, 1 agility, 2 intellect, 2 cunning, 3 willpower, 2 presence. They also will have the 11 plus brawn for their wound threshold and 10 plus willpower for their strain threshold and a starting XP of 90. And then we're going to give them, for their starting skill, we're going to give them negotiation. Cool. And that's basically because they've been trading for centuries with the humans building for them, and every one of them just has a talent with it. It's natural. Yeah.
It makes sense to say, we're gonna come fix your city, and then they can and they're able to negotiate because they're probably pretty strict. They're like, you know what? Here's the price. There's really not a whole lot of negotiation. It's going to cost you this much.
Well, your laborers could do this, but they're going to screw it up, and you're just going to end up calling us again.
You can call us again if you want. That's fine, but yeah.
Dwarven craftsmanship, second to none. So, then we're going to keep the stubborn talent, or not talent, but the stubborn ability also, which is dwarves add a setback die to all social checks targeting them. They tend to be stubborn. That helps when they're negotiating.
Yes, it sure does.
And then the last one, we're going to throw out what they have here as tough as nails. We're just going to throw that out, and we're going to create our own ability for our dwarves that fits the setting better. And what we did was we went to the Eye for Detail talent that's in the expanded talents Genesis list created on the FFG forums. And we decided we were going to reword it, rename it, and we were going to make it the dwarves talent. And we'll also use this as a talent in a dwarves special ability, but it'll also be used as a talent in our setting. And so we're calling this Master Craftsman. And it is a after making a mechanics or alchemy check, you may suffer strain up to your ranks in Master Craftsman to convert that many successes to advantage.
Right.
And really what that is okay, so the biggest thing you want when you're crafting things is advantage. You want to at least succeed by 1 and then have your... So this gives you something to do with all those excess successes, because they're really worth nothing to you when you look at the crafting tables. When you look at crafting tables, it's all about spending the advantage. So this allows you to convert that. And this also counts as a rank for Eye for Detail or Master Craftsman is the first rank in it.
Yeah, and it starts off as a tier 3 talent, so it's not like something you'll get like right away at tier 1.
But dwarves do.
But dwarves will get it right away, and it will count as their first rank. So that would mean if they wanted to get another rank in it, it would have to be a tier 4 talent.
Nope, they could buy it at tier 3.
They would be able to buy it at tier 3. Okay.
Yep. They would be able to buy it at tier 3. That's when they could start buying it. So they would start with it early.
Oh, I see what you mean. They would just have one extra rank in it to start with.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
That is cools.
Okay.
I like that, man.
All right. So then that was our dwarves. Yes. And we will do, a little fluff on how to describe their, their society, but which we did some before.
Yeah, we did.
But now we have our most unique species, which is a species where you immediately start off making a choice.
Yes, you do. So these are our amalgams. These are the elemental-based species in our world.
Elemental humanoids.
Elemental humanoids. You can be an earth amalgam, an air amalgam, a fire amalgam, or a water amalgam. Mm-hmm. And you're basically the living embodiment of that element. And that's the best way I could kind of describe it, Right. And we haven't really put together any abilities on these guys, so.
But we are kind of making them from scratch. But we do have, thankfully, Genesys is an amazing toolkit. They provided us rules for creating our own archetypes.
Sweet. That's in the game toolkit, right?
Correct. It's on page 192 in your book of Genesys. And so we're going to kind of follow through those rules a little bit. So first we got to come up with starting statistics. Now, starting characteristics. Do we want to keep them the same starting characteristic across the board for all 4, or would you like them all to have different ones, Chris? What's your opinion on that?
My first thought was to have them all different. Kind of like how the human archetypes are different, right? Where you have your laborer that has a 1 in brawn or a 3 in brawn, but a 1 in something else. And I'm feeling like the earth one may have a 3 in brawn. You know what I mean?
Okay. But
I don't know, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Right, but where would you put their 1? I have an idea, but
I was thinking of where would I put their 1? Probably cunning. That's my first thought.
Because they tend to be straightforward and
pretty much right in your face and pretty steady, right? I mean,
okay, so they're going to have 2. That cunning was either cunning or presence were my first choice.
Cool.
But I like the idea of having 3 brawn to start.
Yep.
And then we'll give them a 1 cunning, and then they'll have 2 in everything else.
Got it.
So then we move on to our... Oh, no, we don't move on yet. So we also need a beginner skill to give them. What are you thinking?
Nothing jumps out at me. Resilience.
Resilience.
Maybe a rank in resilience, huh?
Yeah. That seems perfect to me.
And we did talk about a special ability, though, too, didn't we?
Yes, we did. But we have to come up with our wound and strain thresholds.
Yes. So...
Now I picture these guys as being relatively tough, being an earth, and having a lower strain. Mm-hmm. I was thinking maybe 12 and 8. 12 for their...
Yeah, you are my brother. Because that's what I had too. That's what I was thinking too with that.
All right. And then, so we had an idea on ability. What'd you think?
Well, we could take, I think our first thought was taking the dwarf tough as nails ability. It
fits.
It does. It really does.
It fits that kind of rooted to the ground personality of an Earth amalgam.
Yeah, it does. It does.
All right, so we're going to give them tough as nails, and then starting XP. Looking at their ability scores, looking at their wounds, they are pretty much, almost identical to the laborer.
Which was what, 90 or 100?
They're at 100.
They're at 100?
Now, I could see maybe even giving them, I think all of ours should have this, where they're environmentally adapted.
Okay. Ooh, yes.
The ability over on page 193 in the Genesis core rulebook are environmentally adapted. This species has adapted to living in a particular climate, or in this case, a particular elemental manifest zone.
Cool.
So when it comes to environments such as an Earth elemental environment zone, they would remove a setback die from all checks based on environmental conditions in an earthy or Earth manifest zone.
Cool.
And then because they have an extra special ability, I think starting XP would be 90.
Yeah, me too. That feels right to me.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay. Moving on.
Okay.
What's next?
Next one, we have air for our amalgam, for our air amalgams.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of air, I think these guys are the cunning ones. Maybe.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think they're your opposites of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at probably a 3 in cunning
and a 1 in brawn.
A 1 in brawn.
Yeah. I like how these are kind of opposites there. That's cool.
Yep. And then as far as a beginning skill.
Well, what do you think? What do you think about wounds and strains?
Oh, I think we should just do the opposite of the Earth. I think it would be
8 for wounds, 12
8 for wounds. Mm-hmm.
Works for me, dude. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That feels good. How about the skill? What were you thinking for a skill?
I think perception.
Ooh, I like that. Perception. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then they would also have the
environmentally adapted
for air environments.
Or an air manifest zone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it's 90 XP too, right?
90 beginning XP.
Oh,
yeah.
We need to come up with their special ability.
Yeah, I like flight.
I like it too.
All flight really does in Genesis. You still cover the same movement. That's the one thing I love about flight in Genesis is when you have flying monsters, when you have flying PCs, it's not so much of it. It's a narrative element. Mm-hmm. They just ignore difficult terrain. That's all flight really does. They still move normally. When coming from a higher to a lower elevation, they can descend faster, allowing them to cover 2 range increments where they would normally cover 1. But other than that, you have the rules for falling damage. So if they hit the ground, no matter how fast they're going, you can just say, all right, you're going to be taking damage. Or they run into something. I like the idea of flight.
Yeah, there is a... So I'm just looking at like a flying mount here. Mm-hmm. And they call it flyer. They can fly. See the flying sidebar, page 100 in the Genesis core.
Yep. Page 100 in the Genesis core says...
Yeah. We're in here.
Flying. Flying in Genesis is handled in 2 different ways. Vehicles and starships that fly, or creatures and individuals can fly, but not the same speeds as vehicle. In these cases, the creatures and individuals simply move from one place to another by flying, but still use the rules presented in this chapter for situations such as combat. Their flight is handled mostly narratively, with a common sense approach. For example, a flying creature would easily fly over a difficult or impassable terrain, fly over water, or without having to swim. You could cover vertical distances in the same amount of way as an individual covers a horizontal one. However, there are some points to keep in mind concerning flying creatures. Okay. Species that can hover rely on swiftly moving wings, bags of lighter than air, gas, or other systems to move while staying above the ground. This type of movement allows for the same game rules as those for other creatures, with the following exceptions. Hovering creatures ignore difficult or impassable terrain as long as they are reasonably be able to stay above it. And they ignore the penalties for moving through water. They generally have to stay relatively close to the ground at medium range. I like that. That works perfectly fine.
So we're thinking that these guys could hover.
Yep.
Then yeah. Cool.
And then there's the staying the other flight, which is they have to have one round of flight movement in order to stay in the air. They have to move every round.
Yeah, these guys are like the living embodiment of like air.
Yep, they're essentially a living cloud. So
yeah,
they could stay stationary.
Cool.
I like the idea of this, but theirs is more of a hovering flight.
Yeah. Wire hovering. Cool.
All right, so moving on.
Yep.
To my personal favorite, the fire.
Yeah, dude.
The fire amalgam. To me, fire seems, fiery, explosive. Presence should be their primary stat.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think because presence is such a, high, up there, one of the things also that they have low impulse control. So willpower would be their low stat. So cool. 3 presence, 1 willpower.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Now, I like the idea of each one being slightly different. So what I was thinking for the wounds and the strain was going, instead of with the 12 and 8 like we did with the other 2, which are more extremes, we've got kind of the middle 2. If you're looking at your square, I see the air being on top, the earth being on the bottom, and then you've got your left and right, which is your fire and water.
Yeah.
So I would think either they're 10s and 10s, 10 and 10, or they're 11 and 9. I like the 11 and 9 personally.
9 for strain and 11 for wounds. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was going the other way with fire. 9 for wounds and 11 for strain, and then reversing that for the water.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
I think for a skill, I was thinking like a coercion for that. I mean, like definitely, like you said, like the presence. They're just like immediate. I mean, they just use that presence and that fiery nature of them to kind of coerce people, and not necessarily cool and charming in a way. I do see it more of like a threatening, naturally threatening, right? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're right on base there. I liked the idea of either. I was leaning towards either coercion or what was the other one? I'm drawing a total blank because I don't have a skill list in front of me. Grr.
Is it another social skill or?
Yeah, it was leadership. It was either coercion or leadership.
Ooh.
But I like coercion more. Coercion is willpower based, so you're kind of hampering them by making that or you're giving them a benefit where they have.
It is willpower based.
Yes, whereas leadership is more presence based.
Yeah, I think going with leadership feels better here. I think in that regard.
Okay. All right.
Though, giving them the 1 free rank in coercion kind of makes up for the 1 in willpower if they want. But yeah, I like the leadership. That's cool.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right, so we're going to go with leadership instead.
And they are the fire manifest zones. They get to remove a setback die.
Yep. Environmental adaptation fire. which is cool. They can stand in the campfire.
Then sing Kumbaya to everybody.
Right.
Even lead them in a song. That was bad. I'm sorry. Using that leadership, man.
Damn Skippy. All right. And then for their ability. So I had one that I noted here, and I think it's kind of cool. I wrote it down as Wreath in Flames.
Okay. Not so cool, but because that burns, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was dumb.
So I liked the idea of having them be able to wreath one single melee weapon in fire, giving it the burn quality. And they can do this by spending a story point. And they can do it for a number of rounds equal to their presence rating.
Cool.
And it would give a burn equal to the base damage of the weapon. What do you think? Oh, no, wait. Burn does... Burn
is number of rounds. We need to give it a number of rounds. I'm thinking...
okay, so then burn would be for burn equal to the rating of their presence.
Sweet. Being quality.
So it'd be starting at burn 3.
Presence, yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Burn does the base damage of the weapon for a number of rounds equal to the...
Now, would we make that... I might have asked you this before. Would we make them have to concentrate? Spend a concentration maneuver as, kind of how the magicians do when we're casting spells to keep it going.
I don't think so. I think it's just kind of natural. Yeah.
Just kind of do it and keep it going for a number of rounds equal to their presence.
Yep. It would have burn quality equal to the number of rounds of their burn presence. You know what I mean? Jeez, I can't even talk.
Well, so because we're giving it how long is their weapon burning?
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Wreathed in flame, right? That's number of rounds equal to their presence. The burn
we could have
quality,
it last for the encounter. We could have it last for the encounter and just have it be a once per session ability.
That doesn't suck.
I like that more. Let's have it last
session?
for the entire encounter
and
make it a once per session. So, wording would be once per session. Spend a story point to wreath your weapon in flames, giving that weapon a burn quality equal to your presence rating.
Yep. Lasts the encounter.
And it lasts for the entire encounter. I like it.
Cool. Yeah, me too. Me too. And again, 90 XP for these guys too, right?
Yeah, I see that.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Well, yeah, we want them to kind of all be similar.
Oh yeah.
I like the fact that they have the balancing of the stats.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So we got so now we're on to water, which should be fairly straightforward now. So we'll have 2s across, but a 3 in willpower.
I was thinking actually of 3 in agility.
Oh yes.
And that's where these two, water and fire, kind of differ from.
Yeah.
Is where they would only have 1 stat in common instead of 2. Whereas, how the earth and air are like exact opposites of each other. Water and fire are slightly opposite of each other a little bit. They have the 1 stat in common. So it would have a 3 in agility, but have the presence of 1.
Presence of 1. There we go.
You like that?
I do. Do we want to keep the same, a 9 in brawn, or do we flip that too?
What do you think? I like the idea of flipping it. 11 in wounds and
11 wounds.
9 in strain.
Yeah. That's cool. Now for the skill. First thing that popped to my mind was stealth, but maybe
First one that popped in my mind was coordination.
Yeah. I like that one. Coordination. Yeah, I like that. Because of the agility. Mm-hmm. And then environmentally adapted in water zones, water manifest zones.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the other special ability we were thinking?
How about a rank and dodge?
Yes.
They begin with the talent dodge and 1 free rank in it.
Yep. And that'll work basically the same as our, what do you call it? As the dwarves.
The Master Craftsman.
Master Craftsman, right? So that,
yep.
I think dodge is what, a tier 2 or tier 3 talent?
I think dodge is tier 1, I believe.
Is dodge tier 1?
I'm going to it right now, hoping to find it soon. Talents, here we go. No, dodge is not tier 1. Dodge is
tier 3, I think. Yes, it is. It is a
tier 3.
Tier 3, yep.
Yep. So when your character, let me read it so people who don't have the book can know. When your character, it's a tier 3 talent, active, well, for our characters, it's going to be a starting talent. Mm-hmm. It's active, incidental out of turn, and it's ranked. When your character is targeted by a combat check, ranged or melee, they may suffer a number of strain no greater than their ranks in dodge. To use this talent, then upgrade the difficulty of the combat check targeting your character by the number of times equal to the strain suffered. So if you only have the beginning rank in it, it's going to cost you 1 strain, and it'll upgrade the check once.
Basically making you adversary 1 for 1 strain. Mm-hmm. That's effectively what that does.
Against 1 attack. Not all attacks incoming that round, just 1 attack.
Yep.
Pretty cool, though.
Doesn't suck.
It's got that kind of fluid motion kind of feel to it.
Kind of like water would be, right? Nice. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I like these.
All right. And then, as we go, these are the ones that we decided at the creation of our setting that we wanted to do. But I have ideas, and I'm sure other people out there who are listening to us have ideas of creatures and things that might fit into this setting.
Yeah.
If you want to, folks, if you want to add a race or a species to our setting, email us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com with your species background and stats.
Yep.
And Chris and I will pick from those emails 1 to add to the initial setting document.
Sweet.
The best one. What do you think?
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
And then we have room to grow. We may find more than 1, but we'll guarantee at least 1.
Yeah. So of you 5 or 10 listeners out there, if only one of you send in an email, hey, that's going to be easy choice.
Yay, you're the lucky right? Stefan.
That's nice. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's it for pretty much for the making our species for our setting. It was really kind of easy. We didn't have a lot of, tremendous amount of thought to have to put into it. We weren't talking about 25 different alien species for a sci-fi setting.
No.
So
thank God.
Yeah. But so
that's cool.
I'm actually looking forward to our next segment. You want to get over there, buddy?
Oh yeah.
Welcome to Setting the Tone. This is where Chris and I pick a book of the books of Genesis and read you some of the fluff from it. Mm-hmm. But we decided to pick the fluff I've been writing for our Primordial Machina setting.
That's right.
So
your
let me start
pitch. Your opening scrawl, if you will.
Yes, this would probably be the introduction to the game. When you open the document, eventually, this is what you'll read.
Yep.
So, the world of Aura, spelled O-R-A-H, was a lush world inhabited by men and dwarves, and ruled over by the immortal and ancient Fey god kings. Powerful, capricious, and immense, These timeless masters ruled over all the lesser races. Immune to the ravages of time, they spent ages and fortunes designing great works of magic and science, expanding their knowledge of the cosmos. Great, glistening golden cities spread across the land, interspersed with lush magical gardens, soaring in the skies like enormous earthen clouds, were alien enclaves of the Fey God King's Sky Isles. The Fey God Kings ruled over it all in perfect order for eons. So what do you think so far?
I like it. That definitely evokes an image of this place that, that I wish was still around. But it wouldn't be so interesting in in what we've done with it, right?
Now my inspiration for those who are out there that kind of wonder, well, what is he talking about with these immense beings? My inspiration for the Fey God Kings, I'll be honest, is the Eldrazi from Magic the Gathering. If you go to Google, if you don't know what they are, Google search Eldrazi. That's Eldrazi, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That gives you an idea of what I'm thinking of visually for my Fey God Kings.
Cool. They might have, and I haven't gotten this yet, but they do have the Ravnica, I think, setting for D&D 5th edition. That's the Magic the Gathering setting, right?
Yeah, that's not part of the Eldrazi stuff, but yeah.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay.
No. The Eldrazi were an ancient, unknowable race of huge, enormous intelligences that were kind of growers and destroyers of worlds, so to speak.
Wow. Cool. All right.
Anyhow, that's to put it the most plain way of. But to continue, that is until the fracture. A device known simply as the Oculus was commissioned by the God King Orphandrion, designed to allow him to glimpse the world of the elemental maelstrom and send troops to raid its resources. Unfortunately for the Fey God, the gnomish peoples, the slaves that he had built the device, had grown tired of their slavery and quite knowledgeable at the feet of their masters. The gnomes had rigged the device to backfire, and when Orphandrion activated it, it used his life force to open the veil between worlds. This had two unforeseen side effects. The first being that every gnome alive disappeared, leaving only their clockwork creations behind. The second was that the fabric of reality between the two worlds was permanently torn asunder. The elemental lords of the Maelstrom immediately sensed this tear and began pouring through, transforming everything in their wake, kind of terraforming the world to their desire. A great war ensued, a war that destroyed elemental lord and Fey God King alike, and ravaged both the world of Aura and the Maelstrom, leaving it all in ruins, all except the nomadic dwarven citadel of Bronzevold, that escaped the destruction by adapting and staying mobile. The last of the elemental lords fell, and the Fey God Kings were no more. Scattered tribes of men and elemental beings known as the Amalgams riddled the wasteland. So,
dude, that's cool.
So now we have like this huge war that destroyed everything. Now, when I see our world, I see it as being more of a plane of existence. It was this kind of this endless plane. And because the Maelstrom ripped into reality, it approached from 4 different directions. So on the edges of this plane now are these huge elemental zones that, you'll have an elemental air zone that's a small, city-sized air zone, or you'll have a fire zone that's the size of a small state like Vermont or something. You'll have those littered throughout the wasteland, as I call the blasted plains, or at the western edge, or one edge of this limitless plane, it just becomes a fire element.
The fire
zone,
fire plane, or whatever.
like the plane of fire. Yes, it's the elemental maelstrom of fire, and
Yep.
just becomes that, and that is what it is for eternity, going off in that direction.
That's cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so putting them, like you said, on a axes, assigning a direction to them would make sense here. You know, like what we were saying. Cool.
Continuing on.
Yeah,
10,000 years have passed since the end of the God War, and with the help of the dwarven steamrights, shelter cities of man have risen from the ashes. Great dichotomies of wealth and commerce, and crime and poverty. These enclaves of pollution-filled oases in a shattered wasteland of ancient ruins and unpredictable elemental manifest zones. Scavengers pick over the bones of the society past. Relic hunters and treasure seekers plunder ancient ruins. Amalgams struggle to survive in the underbellies of cities not their own, or eke out meager existences as nomadic tribes in the manifest zones. Dwarven steamrights craft new devices and expand their knowledge of science and alchemy. Houses of human nobility and guilds of elemental mages vie for political and economic power in the ever-changing landscapes. And underneath it all, sentient clockwork, the last creations of the vanished gnomes, seek to make a place for themselves in a world where they are perceived as nothing more than tools to be used. This is the world of Primordial Machina.
Bum, bum, bum. Dude, that's rocking, man. Dude, you write really well.
Oh, thank you.
That was really good, man. I like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that came to mind when I was creating the setting is, when I was creating some of the background for the setting, was that you and I had talked about creating like this magic fuel. That we wanted to be like the new technology. It's the new craze. All the noble houses are fueling everything with it.
Yep.
And I had this idea, and I ran it by Chris. I called it Fey Crystal. So what this Fey Crystal is, it's the crystallized and shattered remains of the elder Fey God Kings. Usually a golden blue crystal that pulsates with raw energy and is now used as a fuel source for new technology. Cool. So I had that, and I don't know exactly where, we'll probably do more work on that. Mm-hmm. And then I came up with some of the cooler sanctuary cities.
Yeah, man.
Of course, we have Bronzevold, which Chris and I actually kind of came up with. That was solely based on seeing the first trailer for Immortal Engines,
which comes out in a couple weeks.
And I totally am going to see.
Yeah.
But seeing this dwarven citadel as this huge tank that just rolls across the landscape, going from city to city, with airships taking off from it, leaving it and going off to various different places, carrying dwarven steamrights to these different cities to make repairs or advancements for various different interests. Yeah. The dwarven city itself is very, very secluded. Outsiders aren't seen very often beyond like the outsider area, maybe the port.
The port part of it. Yeah.
But I like that. We had Bronzevold. Mm-hmm. Then we had first one that came to mind was Stormhaven. Stormhaven is in an air manifest zone. It is the least polluted of the cities, and it has the most fake crystal trade. It is the center for knowledge on the non-pollutant magical energy movement that is sweeping across the nobles of Aura. So picture this as like the shining golden city in the clouds. It's kind of built on almost like a solid cloud. Gotcha. Multiple tiers, and you've got the nobles higher up and then the low lives below, and I can see the lower reaches of the city where it just constantly rains fecal matter from the upper area.
And they would be like the northern direction, right?
Yeah, it would be right along a northerly direction. And if there's anyone out there that really good at drawing maps, get a hold of me, because I have an idea of how I want to draw this world out, but I have no skill at it. So, but anyhow, next I had the Spire. The Spire is a vertical city. It is it's called Spire, the Vertical City. It's a nomadic trade hub. This spire is a great stone pillar in an Earth manifest zone that rises kilometers high. Climbing its sides, wrapping around it, is a sprawling metropolis. The lower tiers house poor, bristling slums, while its upper reaches house great noble houses and the richest families of man. What's up? Okay. And then the next one was Calder. Calder is anchored above a lake of lava in a fire zone. It has 12 great pillars holding the city. It's a massive cityplex and a marvel of dwarven craftsmanship. It is a center for metalcraft and ore trade amongst men. Cool. Even dwarves go there to buy the ore that they need.
Nice.
Next, I thought was probably my favorite. Shattered Crown is a city carved deep into the blasted plains. At the center of the blasted plains, which is what I'm calling the wasteland, carved deep into the earth. Its upper edges are a kilometers-wide silver and jewel-encrusted crown that once belonged to Orphandrion himself.
Ooh, I like that.
Its lower halls are a series of filthy, soot-filled coal mines that are ever expanding and are maze-like.
Nice.
And then the last one I have was Brinehearth. This one is in an water zone.
Okay.
Brinehearth is a great floating city built out of a substance called float coral. It is a city built on stolen gold and a lawless haven for scoundrels and pirates alike.
Nice.
So, as you can see, we've got, few different factions in each city that could be used and things like that. And that's what I'm, just going to continue to expand upon. And Chris is adding to it as we go also. But that's pretty much it. Dude,
I like that, man.
Yep. I've got some other notes and whatnot on just little historical stuff, but nothing that well developed other than this.
Dude, I'm getting a picture of all of these things. Can't wait to play in this. I can't wait.
I've made the decision that next year's Con on the Cob, I'm going to be running this game for everyone. So
awesome.
I'll be writing an adventure for it once we have the world up.
Sweet. I may have to as well.
Yeah.
I might.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool if we did. I just had a brain fart for instead of doing a tossing back and forth of the torch, so to speak, in one session.
Yeah.
We have the same players.
Same pre-gens?
Same pre-gens, but we do two separate adventures, and one follows the other.
Like a part one, okay, that's cool, dude. Like one on Friday, one on Saturday. Wait a second.
Something like that.
Saturday after. It's gonna have to be Saturday afternoon because one person is gonna get horribly drunk and smashed and won't be able to run their Rippers game. I mean, they won't be able to run a game.
We'll give that some further thought on how we want to do that. But that was just a brain fart that just came to me. But anyhow, that's it for our...
Epic Smell Wars is still going on, I understand.
That's it for our setting the tone for today.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get on over into everyone's favorite section.
All right. All right, everybody. Here we are at the Advantageous Threats. Let me see. Who wants to go first? You know what? I'll go first. I have a really... Yeah, I kind of wrote a little... I was inspired. I was inspired by a certain movie that you and I just saw. Okay. So,
not to plug it or anything, but it was fucking awesome.
Ditto. Okay, so
Gary? Gary liked it too.
Gary liked it too. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. So, in a Tannhauser game, hopefully within the next year, FFG, if anybody over there, Sam, any of you guys are listening to this, hint, 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 nudge, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. When Christmas is coming up, you can announce it anytime.
You sure can. Anytime, guys. Feel free. Captain Frank Lillyman, which, by the way, I got the name from the internets, who he was actually the first infantryman to jump on, I think, on Normandy, on D-Day, I think. Anyways.
First paratrooper?
He's a commander, first guy to jump, apparently.
Nice.
He's a commander in the 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment, and he needs to inspire his platoon of paratroopers, 26 of them to be specific, to jump out of a perfectly good airplane over enemy lands in the middle of flak explosions. And in this, I think in the C-47s back then, you could line up, I think, 27 troopers in there, so that's kind of the size that I had for these guys. Oh, and by the way, the plane next to them just went up in an explosive ball of shrapnel and is now tearing through his plane and his troopers.
Oh shit!
So he needs to make a leadership check to get these guys up and out to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. He's got a jump cigar clenched between his teeth. It's going to be a daunting check because, from the sheer number of troopers on the difficulties based on group size on page 120 in the Genesis core book, which I should have gone to that page, but I'm going there right now. So 16 to 50 number of targets is daunting. Hard is 6 to 15, 2 to 5 is like an average leadership check. This is going to be tough. Excuse me.
Daunting.
Yeah, it's going to be daunting, actually, yeah. So he has quite the presence of 4. And he's been leading his troopers for many years now. So he's got a leadership of 3. And okay. I'm thinking at least 1 auto upgrade just because of the horrific situation going on at the moment right now. So I'm looking at 3 yellows, a green, a red, and 3 purple.
Yoy.
What do you think, man?
Well, I think you need to decide what you're going to do as the active player. Are you going to spend a story point for some reason?
Yeah, because you know what? This would be a great opening scene to a movie. To be completely honest with you. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait.
Sure was.
It sure was. So, yes, I am going to send a story point for that. So that leaves me with 4 yellows.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I think the situation that these are untried troops, even though you've been leading them, been leading them through drills at jump school. These guys have not actually seen combat yet.
Nope.
So I'm flipping a story point.
Awesome. For
that.
Doesn't surprise me.
And so that'll upgrade yet another one of your purple dice. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also going to imply, even though you said the chaotic situation would give an automatic upgrade, you said that the shrapnel is torn through the plane and through some of the troops.
Yes.
So I think that warrants also a setback die.
Okay.
Or 2. I think 1 for now, because you did recommend an auto upgrade. So
I auto upgraded for that horrific part of it, with the plane being destroyed underneath them.
This is a night jump, isn't it?
It is a night jump.
It's early morning, so let's call that darkness. What that setback die is for.
Cool. Okay. And then maybe another setback die because of the noise and chaos.
Yep. Sure.
Okay. Cool. All right, here we go then. Yeah, so that's 4 yellow, 2 red, 2 purple, 2 black. Oh boy. Here we go, everybody. Oh my my word. Holy failure. Yeah. Yeah. It's not so good.
Okay.
So so we have a net of 2 failures, but 1 advantage for this check. And he was basically trying to get his troopers out of the plane. That was the whole what the leadership check was for, to get everybody up and going out the plane. So he failed with an advantage.
With an advantage. Yeah. So here's what I say is going to happen, since you don't get any narrative control.
No, I don't.
So while you're trying to inspire these men, they're just freezing, locking up. They're worried about their friends that are flying out of the gaps in the plane from the shrapnel. And all of a sudden, the plane on the other side of them blows up. Mm-hmm. And another big chunk just rips through the plane, tearing it in half and spilling your troops out.
Oh.
So they don't actually jump. They are just spilled out of the plane.
Oh, well, that helps, I think.
How about your advantage?
Well, I'm keeping my cigar in my mouth while I'm jumping. It's still in his mouth while he's jumping, and he's able to pull his chute.
All right.
How about that?
That's fine. That's fine. Maybe you're able to grab 1 trooper on the way out or something like that, too.
Well, I could. Yeah, he probably
like that one last trooper who's just frozen in fear. You just grab him on the way out and throw him out ahead of you.
Throw him out ahead of me, grabbing his release so that as he goes, his chute opens or something. Yep. Cool. That's mine.
Okay. All right. So for mine, I chose to go with the Android setting again because I'm so looking forward to playing in that. Yes. And so in an Android game, my character, Gogo Bordello, is She is a net media celebrity using the entertainer career in the Genesys core rulebook. She needs to set her crew up with a fixer to buy some guns. Now, her crew, even though she's an entertainer, her group uses her entertainment schedule as a cover to pull off black ops in various different cities.
Nice. I like that.
So she is trying for a discreet yet public enough setting so that the fixer thinks twice about starting some shit.
Cool.
So for Gogo, she has a 2 yellow, 1 green pool here versus what I would determine, GM probably would determine as a hard difficulty. Basically, she's not just trying to set up a nice discreet place. She also wanted somewhere that was kind of public and discreet. So hard difficulty. And she has a talent. She has the talent that gives you the boost die, proper upbringing, I think it is.
Okay.
Let me look it up just to be sure, because I jotted it in my notes, but I forgot to put it on the show notes. Oh. Because I, had a blonde moment. But it's tier 1, proper upbringing. When your character makes a social check in polite company.
This is streetwise, so you want streetwise for this, right?
So this wasn't it then. Okay.
Wasn't it?
Oh, once per session. Ooh, okay. That's not it, but I found something else she should have. All right, nice. That's not it. Either way, so we're not going to add in a blue die because she doesn't have anything that lets her do that. Maybe somebody on the crew is helping her. Maybe she's getting assistance from one of the guys on her crew.
Yeah, there you go. And so this is to find a discreet yet public enough place.
Yep.
Cool. Here's a question for you. Upgraded once because Jefferson Street is on her crew, and he has a bad rep. Is that what you were saying? What is that?
Yes. I hadn't gotten that part.
Oh, sorry.
So the difficulty was going to be hard, but yeah, upgraded once. She has a guy on her crew who has a bad reputation. So anytime the crew has to make a streetwise check, they automatically upgrade the difficulty once. Any known associate, including
Okay.
So right now I'm looking at a 2 yellow, 1 green, 2 purple, 1 red, and a blue die, and I am going to spend a story point to make that 3 yellow.
Cool.
Because she really needs this meat to go off without a hitch, because she has not yet had her show in this area. She's got a show she's planning on doing later, and she doesn't want anything to go wrong with this meeting.
Okay, but she is a celebrity.
Yes.
So some bad things could potentially happen if somebody recognizes her.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that might be a couple of setback dice on that. If she wants to find a place where she doesn't want to get noticed.
Right.
Yet at the same time, she wants it public enough so that this guy doesn't start. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Right.
In that regard,
I didn't say I did, but normally in an android setting and this kind of character, she might decide to get a cybernetic disguise matrix, and maybe if she fails the check, she may decide to do that. So,
that.
Yeah. So let's. Is anything else?
No, that sounds good to me, man. You've upgraded yours. We've already auto upgraded it because of Jefferson having a bad rap. I think that's good enough.
All right, let's roll it up. All right, first thing is that my red die came back with 1 failure and 1 threat.
Okay.
And then my other 2 purples each had, 1 had a failure, 1 had a threat, which is going to cancel out 1 of my setback dice and 1 of my yellow dice. So, and then my other yellow die here that had 2s, or had a success and an advantage on it. So I am left with a single yellow die with 2 advantage.
So you failed, but you have advantage.
I failed, but I have advantage. And damn it, my essentially my threat, or my setback die from fans is what kicked off me not succeeding. The final.
Ooh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
So then I believe. So I think how the narrative will go on this is, you found a place, but maybe a little too public.
Okay.
Because she's recognized by somebody.
So
Go-Go is.
Okay. So there's going to be complications for her to be involved in the meeting because of her.
It feels like it.
Status.
Yep, you think so. Right.
All right. Well, I would like to then take the if my crew is going to be doing the meeting without me, I would take the 2 advantage, and I would use it to encourage and give all of my notes and everything to the person who's going to be running it. Essentially, mechanically, giving that player a boost die
for the meet.
Yep.
When that happens. Cool.
Yep.
So she won't. She'll choose not to go there then. Cool.
Yeah, she'll just choose not to go along, and instead she'll pass a boost die.
Perfect, man.
Instead, let's say we decided to do this in a bar, a club, a nightclub, and instead of me going to the meeting with all my friends, I stay out on the dance floor and draw attention to myself.
Ooh, there you go. Perfect. That's cool. I like that.
All right.
Well done, man. Well done.
Yeah. Not exactly the most discreet place, but hey.
Hey, it is what it is, man. When you fail the streetwise, you fail the streetwise.
Right?
Yep. All right,
So
man.
maybe they're at a table in the back of the bar or something, or back of the club.
That's what I'm thinking. And then you're just kind of whooping it up, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm recognized. Well, all right, whatever. Everybody, look at me.
Yeah, exactly. I just take advantage of that and let them take over the meeting and move on. So.
Perfect. All right, sounds good, man. Well, that's about it. Well, shall we end this thing?
Sure.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, hey, that was the show. That was, the primordial peeps. All right.
Right.
I'd like to give a shout out to the RPG Brewery with Jamie and Stefan, who do interviews, live plays, discussions about anything and everything, role-playing. What are they? Do they have something coming up on Tuesday? In a couple days? I think they do.
You got an interview with somebody.
He's got an interview with somebody. I can't remember. But we're doing a live plays. On Thursday night, I'm running Jewel of Yavin for the crew. And actually, the first session went pretty good. Man, there are so many damn NPCs in that adventure. Holy crap, dude.
Well, making a cheat sheet was a smart idea.
Wasn't it, though? Yeah, I also made a couple of Excel spreadsheets, too, so I can actually do a couple of the encounters, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Which will help with that, yeah. So they're on, you could find the RPG Brewery out there on the YouTubes, Google Plus. No, not on Google. Yeah, probably Google Plus still. Nerds International, the MeWe's, and everywhere else. He has a Patreon. They have a Patreon.
And on that Patreon, he just added a new tier. He added a $10 a month tier, where if you sign up to be one of those people in it, on the third Wednesday of every month, he will run a role-playing session for you.
Cool. Yeah, so find that at the Patreon.
So if you're
www.patreon.com/therpgbrewery.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if I know Jamie, there's quite a few of those are going to be Genesis. He may run other things. I know he loves Deadlands, so he's probably going to run some Deadlands. He loves Call of Cthulhu. He'll probably run some Call of Cthulhu. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee he's going to run some Genesis too.
He probably
So
will.
If you are a fan of the RPG Brewery and you haven't decided to go ahead and be a Patreon subscriber to him, that's the thing you might think about. I mean, especially if you're hurting for a game. I was thinking about it. I can't do it because I have a bi-weekly commitment every Wednesday.
Yeah, you do.
And running Star Wars for my homies.
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, yes.
But anyhow, he's also got the Twitch TV live.
Yep. On Twitch TV /the RPG Brewery. That's where we're going to be doing it. I think we do that on, I think it's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. 6 o'clock real people time, he says, which is on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think the interviews, on Tuesdays happens at the same time, I believe, as well, on Tuesday nights. Every other Tuesday, I think he has that show going.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can get a hold of them over at Nerds International on the Mayway. You can get a hold of us there. You could also email us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Send us your species if you want. And you can get a hold of me on Facebook. Others have gone that avenue before. I always just screenshot that and show it to Chris.
Yep.
And then you can get a hold of us still over on the G+. We're there, but not often. Still getting notifications if someone tries to get a hold of us over there.
Yep.
Nerds International and Finding the Narrative on the MeWe. And you can tell your friends to listen to us on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, and Google Play.
Great.
So with that being said, thank you very much. This is Tony saying, keep rolling them bones.
And this is Chris saying, remember the rule of cool and just have fun, everybody. Good night.
Adios.
Finding a Narrative Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding a Narrative Podcast. Copyright 2018, all rights reserved.